What's up, everybody? Fast week, wasn't it? Yeah, Oklahoma game day is almost here once again, and AllSooners has got you covered for every angle of this week's game with SMU. I'm John Hoover, publisher at AllSooners, and we're going to bring in Ryan Chapman and Randall Sweet to help me break this thing down one more time this week. It's OU-SMU. It's Saturday at 5 p.m. The game is on ESPN Plus, so you better have your usernames and your passwords handy, and you better have your apps updated. The Sooners housed Arkansas State last week in the opener. You might even say they roadhoused them. They just beat them senseless in every way, shape, and form. 73-0 was the final score. OU's biggest win in a season opener since 1917? What? Yeah, that's how good Oklahoma was last week. Dillon Gabriel and Jackson Arnold were literally unstoppable at the quarterback position. The Sooner defense pitched its first shutout against an FBS opponent in 8 years. This week, SMU comes to Norman. Game opened as a 18-point spread. It's Friday today, so the line has dropped to as low as 15.5. So, guys, I'll ask you, as easy and as effortless as Oklahoma made that thing look, what causes you more concern about last week's win? Was it the lack of pressure in the backfield by the defense, where they had 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries, 6 tackles for loss, or was it the 3.85 yards per carry by the running backs on offense?
This may be a cop-out, but I'm going to go with the offensive line, the yards per carry, and I'm going to rope the running backs into that as well. Brent Venables talked about it. Arkansas State passing quickly and max protect. Oklahoma didn't really even try to rush the passer, so I almost gave them an incomplete last week for the pass rush, whereas you flip that over, we heard about this offensive line, and they were great in pass protection. They were great in short yardage, but they didn't snap off a bunch of those big explosive rushes on the ground or average close to 7 yards per carry like Tyler Guyton wanted them to head into that Arkansas State game. I think that 3 new starters coming on in, McKade Matara moving from the left guard to right guard, that's a big area of improvement. And the running backs, if they can get into some kind of rhythm and maybe just trust the play as opposed to trying to make these explosive, I think that could resolve itself. But purely based off what you saw against Arkansas State, they tried to run the football. They got a ton of yards on the ground. They just didn't average a huge yards per carry, and that Arkansas State front was overmatched, and they should have averaged more.
I think the bigger cause for concern is in that low yards per carry number that you mentioned. I mean, we didn't really see any of the OU running backs break off any explosive runs. They ran really, really tough and really hard against Arkansas State, which did the job and did what they needed to do, especially with the way the offensive line was blocking in that game. But against better opponents like SMU, like some of the teams they'll face down the road, you're going to need your running backs to break off some of those explosive runs. Against Arkansas State, they took what the offensive line gave them. They got the yards that they should have gotten, not really anything more. But a lot of the great OU offenses of the past, forever have had explosive running backs who can break big plays. And not to say that these guys can't, but I think that that's the bigger cause for concern. I think we need to see that, especially after that defensive line. Even though they didn't get more than 1 sack, they still got a lot of quarterback pressures. They still hit the quarterback a few times. And Arkansas State obviously did not have success passing the ball.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to keep an eye on that running game. I'm telling you, in no world does Jeff Lebby want his running backs to average less than 4 yards a carry? Are you kidding me? And against a team like Arkansas State, I would think that he would want that number up around 6.5 or even 7 yards per carry. Okay, let's switch it up here. Dillon Gabriel, I mentioned him at the top. He was almost perfect last week. Just 3 incompletions. 2 of those hit the receivers right in the hands. He was 19 of 22, more than 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in 1 half of football. The question is this: did we see the new DG out there against Arkansas State? Can he even begin to keep up that torrid pace from last week, or do we start to see his play begin to level off this week against SMU? I'll tell you what, I'm willing to say that what we saw last week was unequivocally a new and improved Dillon Gabriel. I asked him that question last week, did you feel better? And he said, yeah, I felt more confident, more comfortable, as you would in year 2 in that offense under Jeff Lebby at Oklahoma. But, guys, as optimistic as I may be, I'm not sure he can keep up that kind of success rate for very long. What say you?
Yeah, I think that Dillon Gabriel can keep this up. Maybe not 3 incompletions keep that up, but when you look at what he did 2 things really, really well against Arkansas State that we didn't see a ton of last year. The first one was throwing not just between the numbers but between the hashes. Dillon Gabriel did a good job he was unafraid to use the middle of the field, anything like that. And at times last year, I think Oklahoma struggled with that aspect of the passing game. It wasn't reliant on just deep balls or sideline throws. Dillon Gabriel was really, really comfortable and confident making those reads. He also did something else. He wasn't holding on to the football. There was no pass rush coming at him, really. Good job, offensive line. But he was happy to know, hey, I just need to check this down and take the 5 yards. I need to check this down, take 8 yards, move the chains, things like that. Being that efficient, using both your checkdowns in the flats and going over the middle of the field, pair that in with Andrew Anthony being able to stretch the field. Jalil Farouk, he'll be a guy that can stretch the field as he's a bigger part of the game plan. I do believe that Dillon Gabriel, with that push of competition, Jackson behind him, I think we're seeing a different guy, a more confident guy, and I think that will result in Dillon Gabriel continuing to look this efficient through at least OU Texas.
I think Dillon Gabriel can absolutely sustain a high level of success. I think maybe not the exact stat line that we saw against Arkansas State. I mean, obviously, that if he only threw 3 incompletions every game, that would be pretty crazy. But I think that, relative to the competition, I think he can achieve high-level success, for the Sooners this season. I think that one big thing for him is being confident, and I think that right now he is playing with a lot of confidence. I think that if OU can keep that confidence in him, then I think that he's going to be able to replicate, maybe not the exact stat line, but again, statistical success. And I think that if OU can script some good, easy completions, easy yards for him early in the game, then I think that would go a long way to help him out. Obviously, as the year progresses with this, really new receiver core, he's going to get more accustomed to playing with them, and that's going to do nothing but help him out more too. And if Andrew Anthony can continue to get ingrained in this offense, he looked really good in week 1, then that's going to be a huge help for Gabriel. I think that he could definitely have a huge year for the Sooners.
All right, nice work, fellas. Appreciate it. Listen, folks, don't forget to keep it here at AllSooners for the rest of the weekend, really, as we bring you our preview coverage of OU-SMU and throughout the day on Saturday. Once again, AllSooners is where you're going to find wall-to-wall coverage of the game. We got the pregame, we got the in-game live blog, we got the post-game interviews from players and coaches, we got our reaction to what we saw on the field. Plus, don't forget the AllSooners podcast, certified fresh from the press box, so you get all the latest. Plus, there's so much more we do on Saturdays. Just keep it right here at allsooners.com. For Ryan Chapman, for Randall Sweet, I'm John Hoover. See you guys.